This is modern-day slavery in Congo. Children are being abducted and forced to work in areas of cobalt, sometimes in violent conditions, and parents have to make the painful decision of either sending their children to school or eating today. Well, they will be needing to send all their children just so they can make half a dollar in such dangerous places. And pregnant women are breathing this toxic cobalt with their children on their backs that should not even be breathed because of these toxic consequences on the health. You have to imagine walking around some of these mining areas and dialing back our clock centuries.
Sukuma tunaenda tena tunarudia. Ndio nashikia sana mkongo inauma. Ndio mimi natumia mkongo nilimaka na mbavu na nikula kinapita kile nyuma.
Kara, the speaker of today's story, have seen all of these situations in the modern slavery. Kara says people are working in subhuman, grinding, degrading conditions. They use pickaxe, shovels, stretches of rebar to hack and scrunch at the earth in trenches, pits, and tunnels to gather cobalt and feed it up the formal supply chain. The mining industry has ravaged the landscape of the DRC. Millions of trees has been cut down. The air around the mines is hazy with dust and grit, and the water has been contaminated with toxic effluents from the mining processes. And what's even worse is that cobalt is toxic to touch and to breathe, and there are hundreds of thousands of poor people in Congo that are breathing it day in day out. Young mothers with babies strapped to their backs, all breathing in this toxic cobalt dust.
En train de travailler à Kitowe, là où on cultive les tomates. En train de cultiver si j'ai soif, je pars puiser de l'eau.
There are countless reports of other health problems from those living nearby and working on the mines.
On trouve c'est les infections, mingi ni mama infection, ndio tunaona huko. Kasi mama anatumika makariere sana, tazama mtoto na infection shulungula, mwingine kuna vima buton, mwingine ndio tunaona tu makozi linatoka mama mimba nenda makariere.
Cobalt is used in the manufacture of almost all the lithium-ion rechargeable batteries used in the world today, and while those outside of the DRC differentiate between cobalt extracted by the country high-tech industrial mining companies and that which was dug by artisanal miners, Kara says that the two are fundamentally intertwined. There is a complete cross-contamination between industry and excavator-derived cobalt and cobalt dug by women and children with their bare hands. Industrial mines, almost all of them, have artisanal miners working, digging in and around them, feeding cobalt into the formal supply chain. We should not be transitioning to the use of electrical vehicles at the cost of the people and an environment of one of the most downtrodden and impoverished corners of the world. He says that the bottom of the supply chain, where almost all the world cobalt is coming from, is a horror show. Imagine an entire population of people who cannot survive without scrounging in hazardous conditions for $1 or $2 a day. There's no alternative for those people to begin with. The mines have taken over everything. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced because their villages were just bulldozed over to make place for these large mining concessions. So you have people with no alternative, no other source of income, no livelihood. And after that, the menace in many cases of armed forces that are pressuring those people to dig, and there's parents who have to ask and to make this painful decision. Do I send my child to school or do we eat today? And if they choose the latter, that means bringing all their kids into these toxic pits to dig just to earn that extra 50 cents or $1 a day. That could mean the difference between eating or not. So in the 21st century, this is a modern day slavery. It's not chattel slavery from the 18th century where you can buy and trade people and own the title over a person like a property, but the level of degradation, the level of exploitation is on par with old war slavery. Kara says that she spoke with many families whose children, husbands, spouses had suffered horrific injuries, oftentimes digging in these larger open-air pits. There are pits wall collapses at certain times. Imagine a mountain of gravel and stone just avalanching down on people, coming at people, crushing legs, arms, and spines. She met people whose legs had been amputated, who had metal bars in where their legs used to be. And this is all for what? Just so they can make their daily meal, just so they can make $1 a day. And then the worst of all is what happened in tunnel digging. There are approximately 10,000 to 15,000 tunnels that are dug by hand by artisanal miners. None of them have supports, ventilation shafts, rock bolts, and anything like that. And these tunnels collapse all the time, burying alive everyone who is down there, including the children who did not even want to be there in the first place, who had to leave their schools just so they come to that place. Their family did not even want that, but they were forced to do that because there were no alternative. And it's a demise that is almost impossibly horrific to imagine, and yet I met mothers pounding their chest in grief, talking about the children who had been buried alive in a tunnel collapse. And these stories never get out of the Congo. People just do not know what's happening down there. There is money to be made in every corner and every direction, and you've got these militias. Sometimes they are called commandos, and they will abduct children, traffic children, recruit children from even other parts of the Congo that are not even close to them. I met children who had come from hundreds of miles away and had been bought through militias networks down into the cobalt mines to dig. This is what she says. And as they dig and earn $1 or $2, that's what funds these militia groups. So children are the most heavily exploited of all the people down there. There is the most vulnerable and over time trafficked and exploited in some cases in very violent circumstances. Corruption is at the core of the problem. In 2009, China has signed a contract in exchange of public health and some organization to be built in Congo. And those Chinese companies had seized ownership of 15 of the 19 primary industrial copper cobalt mining concessions down there. So they dominate mining on the ground, and not just that, they dominate the chain all the way through to the battery level. They have about 70 to 80% of the revamped cobalt market and probably half of the battery market.